my name is Tyler Garcia. This is episode 2 of Much Ado About Cooking. Today I'm here with Derek. He's a gamer, power lifter, and a cybersecurity guy. So Derek, hello, how are you?
I'm doing right. I'm doing all right.
Um, Thank you for being on the show. I would like to ask you a couple questions about cooking. Um, what do you know about cooking?
Well, what I know about cooking is, um, as just one of those things in my life, it's like I just picked up really early on
Mhm,
because I don't know. It was just because like as a child, I really liked food,
mhm.
and sometimes my parents like, hey, you know, we can't cook for you, so just do it yourself. I'm like, all right. So it just over time, it was just going to the kitchen, just messing around, making a whole bunch of messes, tasting terrible things, also tasting pretty good things. Other than that, it was just like what is cooking for me is just like it's not. I don't want to say something like pretentious. It's like oh, it's second nature. It's like no, it's just one of those things that I just picked up just because I really enjoy food more than like the average person. So yeah, that's what it is to me.
And so, like you said, you've been cooking since like you were little. And obviously, you had to start from somewhere. How long did it take for you to like be at least, proud of your cooking and it not turn out like a mess?
I'd say because usually when I made food when I was a kid, as long as I enjoyed it, I was proud of
Mhm.
it nonetheless. I remember I was cooking some macaroni and cheese when I was like 8. Um, but and I thought it was a really good idea to share with my family.
Uh-huh.
However, this is when I learned how over salting something can be actually be terrible
Uh-huh.
because my taste buds are that of a goat.
Mhm.
If I say, "Oh, it needs more salt," it has enough salt already.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that as a kid, so when I was mixing in some Velveeta cheese mix, I got some like brisket rub. I put
Uh-huh.
like half the tub in it, and that
Oh
already has like a bunch of
no.
sodium. And on top of that, I had some like spam chunks, and I fed
Mm.
it to my dad, and he just told me, "He's like, Derek, give me a bottle of water, please, because this I am going to get like hypertension from this." It's like,
Oh
"Oh, why?" He's
God.
like, "You put too much salt in it." It's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "Yes." It's like, "Okay, well, I'll remember that." So
Oh yeah, the salt, the spam adds like it sounds like a little too much, but you liked it,
yeah.
and that's what it's all about. Well,
Well, yeah, obviously, I tried it again. I was just like, okay, maybe I went overboard with that, but that was a learning lesson. It's like I adjusted as I go, and here I am.
and so like, what would you cook for yourself like when you were little besides the macaroni?
What I really liked as a kid, because I'm Filipino, it's like eggs and rice. And what I learned early on is just to cook like fried eggs, not
Mm,
not like over easy, over medium, over hard.
hmm
It's like that. It's the Asian technique where you just get a whole bunch of oil,
hmm
make it ripping hot, and then crack an egg in it until it has like that crispy bit around the edge,
Yeah.
but still has that runny yolk. And like I mentioned, since I'm Filipino, the next dish that I learned how to make, which is really easy, is a garlic fried rice,
Mm,
which is you get some like crushed up garlic or like minced up garlic, throw it to like some medium oil, wait until it's like fragrant, and then like throw in some like day old rice and put some salt on it, and it tastes really good even for breakfast.
yeah. Um, so do you cook a lot of Filipino food or now for yourself, or is just whatever, you know?
It usually when I cook food, it when it's day to day or like daily stuff, it's just um whatever I can like cook out the fastest, which is like fried rices or
Mhm,
like getting some like instant ramen, but like adding some stuff into it. Some people might not think that's cooking because you're not making the entire thing from scratch. It's like that's,
mhm,
in my opinion, that's still cooking because you're putting some actual effort compared to like going to getting some takeout. But if there's like some planning involved, or if I just want to mess around, I know I do have like a sous vide on hand.
Oh,
And then like if
nice.
I want it like and if I want to get like a nice steak, if I want to celebrate, like I'd like get like the vac seal and throw that in. Which with by the way, with the sous vide, like that thing is very nice to have on hand just to like create some like reverse sear steaks,
Oh,
or
yeah.
even like not even that, just like getting some like freezing a bunch of bulk food and then like reheating it that way. Compared to like,
Mm.
oh, you got to throw in the microwave, but sometimes like you get some like burn spots and like undercooked spots. If you have like a vac sealed food, um, from like the freezer, and then you just throw into like the sous vide, it's practically if it's like leftovers from like a day.
Oh, wow. That is actually really, really smart. And so you do like everything? Like what kind of stuff do you like vacuum seal and like freeze?
It's just because with since I live with my parents and with my family,
Mhm.
we do make like large batches of food.
Oh,
But
okay.
like if after a couple days, if it hasn't been eaten, we just throw it into like the vacuum seal bag and then just freeze it. And as long as the freezer stays like you know not like just doesn't get like shut off or whatever,
Mhm.
you can in theory keep that for like a year, maybe 2 years. Oh, like that's with our experience. Sometimes
Mhm.
like it depends on like how people like how their body like reacts to like food safety, because like it
Oh,
varies from
yeah.
house to house, since
Mhm.
no one has to follow like health inspection regulations when you're living at home.
Yeah.
That's why, like, sometimes with the like living in an Asian household, especially, we'd have like food that stays out even a day, maybe 2 days. I think, and
Oh,
but like
wow.
I'd eat it and like I'd still feel fine.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why like my immune system feels great, is because there's some days where we just like have days like sitting like out of the refrigerator, or
Uh-huh.
even like on the stove with like no heat, and then like you just eat it or just reheat it like normal. Then you
Wow.
just like just build up the immunity, I guess.
Mm. And I think you know, kudos to you because I think I'd probably die if I had food left out from the counter a couple days. But you live with your parents, but you also, you say, you do a lot of bulk food. Um, you're also a power lifter, so you
Mhm.
eat, a lot more than the average person. Do you count your calories, or how do you like supplement your diet? Like, what do you do to
Okay,
make sure you're good?
so so before COVID, I was actually starting like a meal prep, and I was able to like count my macros as
Mhm.
well as track my macro and micronutrients. I was able to drop down from like 300 pounds down to like 265 within
Mhm.
within like a month or a month and a half. Which, given like some people might think that's a bit too much, if like, but that is if like if you're just like a normal person, if like you drop like a substantial amount of weight within like a month or 2 months, but you're just like a normal person, and then like that's not good.
Yeah.
But if you're like in an active, like if you're like in an active lifestyle,
Mhm.
and like you know what you're doing, like you can like just limit how you're eating or just eat how that is. But like right now, since after COVID, I've been like primarily just like eating what I can.
Mhm.
I do one of the things that people use a lot in the fitness industry, or just like if you're like within like the realm of like fitness, is just like using like any like calorie tracker or like macros tracker. So
Mhm.
you could like log day-to-day stuff. It's like I use MyFitnessPal. Some people use the app called Lose It.
Mhm.
Um which they're good in that you can like log in like all of like your macro, like all the macros, or like all the foods, or like you could search it up. For example, I was eating at a place called Cabo Bob's,
Mhm.
but the problem is with like some of those places is that Cabo Bob's has those like it's not one of those things that you can find on MyFitnessPal. So you
Oh,
just find
okay.
like something close. Like I use like Chipotle, and then like log in like all the serving sizes that way, and then like I just log my calories that, and then like I'm good for the day. Um, but so far I've been good at maintaining my weight. but I've been planning to like at least start cutting weight
Mhm.
just because being around 300 pounds in general, regardless if it's fat or muscle, the heart doesn't know the difference. So I got to just start losing weight as like soon. So,
Mhm. And I mean, what is your favorite meal, like healthy meal that you can cook, or something easy?
uh, I'm not gonna say it's a really healthy meal,
Uh-huh.
in terms of just because some I usually don't really get my vegetables in.
Hmm.
Uh, the most healthiest meal I've cooked recently, it was just like around 2, 3 cups of rice, 4 eggs, and some like leftover venison sausage and some like leftover
Hmm.
lamb from like last night. So it was just like a giant plate of food. But I know for a fact that like I could like just eat that, then work out and like it'd be fine.
Yeah, that sounds really good, actually.
Yeah.
Some venison sausage. What is speaking of, meals that you cook for yourself, what is one of your favorite meals that you've cooked recently?
So there's two.
Hmm.
I've read online how like the original recipe of pasta alfredo has
Hmm.
like no cream in it. I've tried doing that, and I prefer that over like having like the cream sauce
Oh,
because like
okay.
it feels lighter and like you could actually eat it and not feel bad. By the way, if you're going to like grate Parmesan, like
Uh-huh.
a fast way to do it is just chop it up and like throw into the blender and then like hit the pull setting. You could
Oh,
and then that makes like that pebbly like fine like sand type texture of like
yeah.
Parmesan, and compared to like like slaving away at on like the cheese grater and just dealing with that
Mm,
and then you could just have like grated Parmesan for like like within like a few seconds.
nice.
And then the second uh what was it, meal? I'm not saying it's a meal, but it was just like one of the dishes I've made was like during Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
It was like the first time I tried frying like turkey.
Oh, okay.
So with my house we have a propane stove, like propane jet stove used for like Asian cooking.
Oh, okay.
So we set it up outside and we have like a giant pan. Not necessarily like one of those like giant turkey pots
Hmm.
used for like frying in a whole turkey, but it was like a pan big enough so that if you chop the turkey up into pieces and like fry it basically like you're making giant pieces of fried chicken. Um that was fun for me. However, what I learned when cooking like frying food that way is like compared to like baking in the oven, you got to like drop the internal reaching internal temp like 20 degrees. Otherwise, they'll turn like basically turn it like fried beef jerky.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
That sounds really good. And this was like this past Thanksgiving?
yeah, this past Thanksgiving.
Nice. What is the least favorite meal that you've had recently?
Okay. I usually with anything that I just don't like in general, I like tend to forget.
Mhm.
But given that question, one of the meals that I remembered being terrible because it was great before,
Uh-huh.
but it became terrible to me. Um, it's okay. Backstory with me: I have family that lives in Vegas, so I visit it all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, and one of the things in Vegas is like all you can eat buffets. There's two buffets that like really turned me down. Let me find the first one. Well, okay. Let me talk of like two. There's one near the strip, like with the Cosmopolitan Wicked Spoon.
Okay.
Uh, I, when we first initially went to it, my family loved it because like compared to like buffet style where you have like a ladle and like a giant tray of food and you scoop it out and portion it yourself, it's
Yes.
pre-portioned, so you just grab what you
Uh,
want,
mhm.
which is good. So you could like actually taste what you want and like compared to like, oh, I grabbed too much of this, but I can't throw it out because the waiter will see me and charge us for the meal.
Okay, yeah.
And but after bring going back to COVID, after COVID hit Vegas, like majority of like buffets were just like shut down or like reduced. What do you call this? Like a very reduced menu, or
Oh,
like
okay.
just quality went down significantly. And like the Wicked Spoon at the Cosmopolitan was hit by that way. But even then, with the Cosmopolitan, like just I'd much rather preferred like the food in like the wet market area, or like anything else other than like just the buffet, because like it kind of gone downhill. And the second one that just it really disappointed me was a Japanese buffet in Vegas called Makino. Because we like as a kid growing up, like we'd go there all the time and the food was great. Then we went to just one time. Just like the fried rice tasted like it was like out for like a few hours.
Uh,
Like all the sushi, it was just like very thin pieces of like fish, and then too much rice. And then like looking at the prices, they upped the prices too, which was like, okay, so like quality went down, prices went up. I was just like, okay, well, cut our losses there. So
but for cooking for yourself, you haven't really had anything that just like maybe didn't turn out right. Well, I know you told me about the spam and the macaroni when you were little. That was definitely.
um as far as I'm aware, it's just like any foods that didn't turn out right cooking, I just chalk it up to my losses and just like
Mhm.
forget it. Because um, because usually with cooking with me, since it's like so like secondhand, it's just like
Right.
if it's bad, I'll just forget it, and then if it's good, like mentally remember it. Um, but in terms of just like foods that like didn't turn out the way that I expected, um, Uh, oh yeah, I think it's like another pasta dish where it was just like I thought just I was just like riffing and like trying to get like all the like, because like my dad bought like a bag of like prawns from like Costco that are just like real cheap, but I wanted to like mess around with the sauces, so I just made put like cheese, then I got like the leftover like prawn juice, threw that
Oh,
in,
okay.
and then but like as it was like like being built and then like being made, um it just like taste wise and like like pasta wise, it's just like the pasta was too soft, and like and then like the sauce was just like, okay, it just tasted like lobster, like store bought lobster bisque, because I
Oh,
yeah, because like I think it was just like my first time dealing with like any like sweet like crustacean, or like just like sweet food, like sweet seafoods in general, which I didn't know how to like complement the like flavors really well. So it
mm,
just tasted like imagine getting like the Kirkland brand like lobster bisque and like pouring it over pasta sauce with like chunks of like shrimp in it. It was just like it didn't taste like it didn't like if you'd eat it, but it's just like it wasn't like rememberable.
ah,
So it's
oh,
just it,
it's
but
not good.
at that point it's like it's disappointing. So
Mm. And so, that's a very good mindset to have. You forget about your meals and you keep on moving forward. What is something that you've been wanting to cook? Um, but you're not
okay.
afraid to cook, but it's just something that's a little challenging.
Okay, so there's two things that come to my mind. Let me try finding it. First one, because like recent like recipe, I'm just looking it up right now.
Mm.
There's like two sweet thing, like one sweet thing, and then one like it would be like an absolute hassle to actually do, especially in like a suburban neighborhood. The first one, um, let me just find it right now. Let me find as I'm finding it. The first one that I'm thinking of is like an entire roasted pig.
Oh, okay.
The problem with that is one, finding like a whole roast pig for you to do, and then two, um, actually setting up a place for you to set up a roast pig without the HOA getting involved and being mad at you. So, but just traveling to the Philippines, like visiting families, like if you're like traveling on the road, like you'd see like giant like lechon like shops where you just see rows of pigs being rotated by like some kid, and
Wow.
like it smells awesome.
Hmm.
And obviously I want to have that my own setup that way, but you can't just have like rows of roast pig being like set up in your backyard because people will get mad.
Yeah. It's crazy that they would. I mean, it's a big pig, It's
Yeah.
awesome. But that yeah, that sounds a little hard to pull off.
Yeah.
Definitely. Um, what is moving on to another segment, really quick. What is your favorite film or like piece of media that features cooking? It could be YouTube videos, it could be movies.
Uh, okay. It's real stupid. It's Good Burger.
Good Burger.
Yeah, because like like it because as like younger generations, we're all pro nostalgia compared to like pro future optimists.
Oh yeah.
So Good Burger to me is just like one of those like movies where it's just like this reminds me so much about like the 90s early
Hmm.
2000s. um and like I know there's like better cook like movies like or TV shows that involve cooking like The Bear or like what's that one movie Burnt, but
Oh yeah.
because like Good Burger is just like just like it's not a feel good movie, but it's just like one of those like oh this it's like one of those like, and that's not a bad movie that's good. It's just like one of those like oh it's like cheap cartoony movies that you know the premise is really stupid because it just ran on like one joke, which is like welcome to Good Burger, home with the Good Burger, can I take your order? And
Hmm.
then it just ran off from there. And then like it has like the premise of like one of those like ski movies that you see in the 80s and 90s where there's like this rival that kicks in and they're better than you in every way
Hmm.
until you find something that works that could be used in your favor type deal. But instead of that, it's with burgers and
That's
then
awesome.
yeah. And like obviously my favorite character there is other than Ed, it's Sinbad. Like cuz like he's dressed up like very out of time in that like cuz like he just like he's like from the 70s. Um but he really played that character really well. And then and the running joke is like his car getting like destroyed throughout the entire movie and it was pretty funny.
I did not. I've never seen Good Burger. I did not know Sinbad was in Good Burger. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh, what else? So have you seen do you watch like movies or TV shows like with food in them and you're like, "Oh, I want to make that," or like binging with Babish, like that sort of thing? Like, have you ever tried recreating anything?
Oh, so speaking of that, there was like two YouTube channels that I grew up watching. Like this was like like the preface of like all like YouTube cooking content.
Mhm.
But it was like two Japanese channels. It was one called Cooking with Dog, where it's not literally cooking with dog. No,
Mhm.
it's like the dog is called like the dog is Francis and is the host, and then they make Japanese dishes. But that show has been, I think, as far as I remember, was running since 2007.
Oh wow.
And then the other one, it was called Runny Runny 999, which he would show like he would take like fan requests and then or like and he'd try his best as possible to like make them. I think
Mhm.
my favorite one was his like Japanese breakfast one where like he just made create like this like stereotypical Japanese breakfast with like eggs, rice, and natto, like salmon, and then the whole spread. And obviously the best one to just like that started it all for like the longest was like Chef John's Food Wishes,
Mhm.
where he's been making content for like I think 20 years, right? 20 years
Wow.
from now. Like that's how long he's been doing it on YouTube. Um, where like Chef John, just like just taking whatever person's request, hence the name Food Wishes, and then just
Hmm.
creating their food wish. But that's the type of stuff that I grew up watching as a kid, because growing up, the since my both my parents like had to work jobs, they're like, oh, if you want to do this, like figure it out on your own. It's like, okay, so and thanks to YouTube and Google, just like, okay, so here's just like some like, albeit this is like early days of YouTube's, like here's some like video recipes I can follow, and then like just go from there.
Cooking is important, and it's so good that we have the technology that we have now to, look stuff up and make food, and there's all these different ideas, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but I made this thing where you would fry it was a breakfast casserole. Okay.
Mm.
It was good, but it was the heaviest meal I've ever made in my entire life. You take like pancake batter or just like flour, water, egg, I don't know, make a thick batter, and you put it in like you just fry it up into these like little weird like kolache shaped things, and then sausage and egg and hollandaise sauce and cheese, and it was good, but
Yeah, no, that sounds like a lumberjack meal. Just like you're gonna do like hard labor after that.
yeah, so bad. But I mean, I've also made good stuff too. But um, speaking of recipes and stuff that we've made, what is your favorite thing to make? And if you could share, the process of that recipe.
Okay, so my favorite thing to make, and sharing the process. As I mentioned, one of the things that like I enjoyed making was the Alfredo, without without the cream.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I learned, how like fast, like if like truly authentic Italian food. Prep time for like the ingredients might take a while, but like putting it all together, it's just like at most 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So to make authentic Alfredo is first like you start getting like boiled water, and then like add some salt to it, and then like you throw the Alfredo in, Alfredo noodles in. While that's going, this is like one of the tips you like everyone in the internet just like shares. Like you take like a mug full of that like pasta water, and then you just like set it aside.
Okay.
And while you're getting that, like as the pasta like is boiling, you grate your cheese, and then like you get the pan set up with the butter, and then like what I do is just like I set the butter cold, and then like put the pan at like very low so that it just melts over time.
Okay.
And then as like um as like that butter's like slowly melting, you just add like like a little bit of the pasta water first. And then so like you could get like, yeah, at least the pasta water started, like the pasta sauce started. And then when the Alfredo noodles are al dente, you throw it into the pan, like just like with some tongs, you just grab it, put it into the pan, and then start mixing it around with the butter and like some of that leftover pasta sauce. Then with that cheese you grated earlier, you toss it into the pan, and then you
Mhm.
splash some pasta water into it. And then this is where like most Italian foods rely on like technique. You get tongs, and then you move the pan, and then start emulsifying everything up until you
Mm.
actually get a pasta sauce, compared to like, oh, you just like put some cream and parmesan in, and then wait until that turns thickened. Like creating the sauce through like actual like emulsification with like the pasta water and butter and like the cheese, like so like, and then like sometimes you might see, oh, the sauce is a bit too runny, then you just throw in some more cheese. Or like, oh, it's not coming in together, then like you like splash some pasta water in there. That's why sometimes with like creating recipes or like following, I don't like, there's like some things where it's just like there's not really a recipe that I follow, is because just like it's just whatever feels like correct. It's like if you ask me, if you could like quantify how much like pasta water and how much cheese you use. Is like I don't know, because like in the process some things might happen within like the like creation process of like making the alfredo dish, to the point that like it might vary. Like there's not like a set amount that I do use for like creating the dish. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think as you continue to cook, and you've been cooking for so long, you don't really follow recipes anymore. You just say, okay, yeah, I need that, that, and that, and the rest comes to where the rest comes easy most of the time, right? I mean, I don't really measure anything out anymore. For
yeah,
rice, just
yeah,
the finger thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. We're ending the end of the episode. I just have one more question to ask you. Why do
Mhm.
you believe it's important to cook? And what is one piece of advice you would like to give someone who's wanting to get into cooking?
Uh, why I believe it's important to cook. Well, it's just one of those things where like uh you could take pride in what you do. Like there's a very few things that you should be prideful for, and one of that being reliance on yourself. Uh to at least get something done, because there's nothing wrong with like not being able to do it, or just like going to like Taco Bell and like buying
Yeah.
like a deluxe box. But there's just like a certain feeling of like creating and like um making something with your with your own hands, that just gives me just like some form of satisfaction. And to advice that I would have for like anyone who doesn't know how to cook or just starting out to cook, uh, sometimes it's like the simplest things is like you've already been cooking, like creating a PB and J, that's cooking. Throwing like creating craft macaroni and cheese, that's basically cooking.
Yeah.
So I like majority of people have already started cooking, even with like some of those like very basic stuff. Even I consider like throwing cereal into a bowl and throwing milk on it, that's
Mm.
considered cooking, because that takes two steps and then you're done. Albeit it's a very simple cooking step, that's still in my mind cooking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, it takes time. It takes practice to do all these things, and we can't just magically be amazing overnight. Um, Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching What to Do About Cooking, episode 2. It was a lot of fun working with Derek, and it was a pleasure to have a chance to talk to him again. Um, I hope you all enjoy next week's episode, and I hope you guys subscribe. Thank you.